and welcome. I am Dawn Janice, and this is Wendy Lee Baldwin Hargett. I'm afraid I'm going to miss a name. And this is Lightweavings podcast, and this is my black and white cat that has decided to join us today. So she may make a few appearances during this podcast today if you're watching on YouTube. And this is where we ask that question: what has dimmed your light, and are you ready to do something about it? We are going to have conversations that may make some of you uncomfortable, or maybe sometimes we may get uncomfortable talking about it, but that's where the breakthrough happens. My cat is stepping on the keyboard, so that's why I'm adjusting here. But that's where the breakthroughs happen. And this week has been a breakthrough week for me, Wendy. I'm really excited to talk to you. There's some fun topics that have come up. And let's just start this. Let's just do this. Are you ready?
I am so ready, Dawn. I'm eager to hear everything that you have to share. And yes, today is going to be a really fun topic. Let's do it.
All right. Sounds good. Well, I'm just going to start with something fun.
Okay.
Okay. So I believe that we can put something out there to the universe, to, in prayer, in meditation, whatever that looks like, and speak the truth out there of what we want to create in this world. I really do. We may look at that practically and say, this is, just really good goal setting and action steps and accountability, which I believe is also true.
Mm-hmm.
I think it all works together. But one of the things that I've been doing since the first of the year was taught to me by a writing coach that I'm working with, and that is writing myself a check from the universe and then sleeping with it under my pillow and thinking about it every night before I go to sleep. And Wendy, it's incredible. I started with, a reasonable amount in January. Guess how much income I brought in? Almost exactly what the check was written out for.
Wow. Congratulations.
Well,
That's
thank you.
exciting.
And I didn't know how that was going to happen. I mean, I didn't know how that was going to happen. There was nothing, written. I didn't know what contracts would come in. I didn't know if anything in real estate would sell. I didn't know that. And so then this month, for the month of February, I wrote out a check for dated February 28th, 2023 to myself from the universe. And in the topic line, or the memo line, I wrote awesomeness. That's the reason. And I wrote it for twice as much.
Ooh, nice.
Because I've got some big goals this year, not just for income, but for what I want to create. And it all goes together. Abundance comes when we give. And so I've been really working on giving, and I know you have too. And I am on track to have that same exact amount that I wrote on that check come in this month.
Congratulations. This is really exciting. And oh, what a wonderful concept. Something very easy that anybody can do. And where did you get this blank check? Was this something from your actual check? Did you download it somewhere on the internet?
That's a good question. Yeah, I found it on the internet. I just did a search for, checks from the universe, and hit the image sign, the image tab as I was doing the search, and found a lot to choose from, and downloaded one and worked with it to get it to be the right size that I wanted. And it's a blank check signed the universe, from the bank of the universe. And it's just a fun thing to do. You can make your own if you'd like. By the way, this is Oreo. My grandson named her. She is a black and white tuxedo cat with bright green eyes, which she may show you or she may not. But
she is beautiful. She let me see her eyes earlier. She's absolutely gorgeous. And she's a really special kitty too. You can just see it in her eyes. And I love that she's joining us in this conversation. So thank you, Oreo, for being here. I love kitties.
Cats are healers, I've been told.
Yeah.
And she showed up at my back door and came in.
Yeah.
And I need to take her into the vet just to make sure everything's okay. I think it's a she. She could be a boy. I don't know. I'm not very good at that. I mean, I know that you're supposed to look at certain things, but she's kind of fluffy, so I didn't want to get personal.
Right.
And need to go. There's her eyes. Get her checked out.
Gorgeous. Oh, what a
Yeah.
beautiful, talk about abundance. Animals have a special way of knowing who to go to. Animals choose us is one of my beliefs. And so he knew that you needed somebody. And what, so going back to you and your checks and putting this under your pillow, thank you for sharing with the rest of us how we can get one of those too and do this on our own. And, do you mind sharing what it was like before that?
Yeah, you mean last year before I started putting the
Yeah,
checks under my pillow?
yeah.
Um, yes, I've had money blocks that I'm sure I developed early in my childhood
Hmm.
from the environment I was in, other people's beliefs about money. We call those limiting beliefs in the coaching community. And I know that I have the ability to create abundance. I have, trained in a lot of different areas, and Oreo wants to say something apparently. Um, Trained in a lot of different areas. I'm a realtor, and a healthy life coach, and have had thriving businesses over the years. So I know I can create money, but one of the things that I do with money when I get it, and I know that this is part of it, is as soon as I get it, I spend it.
Hmm.
I find a way to spend it.
Hmm.
So then I'm right back in the place of lack again. So I'm
Hmm.
watching myself doing this. And, I've made six figures several times in my life, a year, that type of thing. But I'm always in lack because I find a way to get rid of it. It's so interesting.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
interesting. So I'm working on that. And I think that awareness is big for me. So I'm keeping track of my spending. I'm trying to be a lot more conservative than I've been in my life. And also I do have big goals, a lot of things I want to accomplish, but I also have, some concerns about security
Mhm.
because I am 62 and a half years old.
Uh-huh, and it's fabulous.
Thank you. And retirement is coming up
Yeah.
eventually. I'm going to work until somebody tells me I can't anymore, probably because I
Mhm.
enjoy what I do. I enjoy all of this. It's fun. It's hard to even imagine that it's work, but it's time to feel more security in my life, because I've always just you know done that, got money in and then gotten rid of it again. It's time to start putting away for that rainy day that may come. So that is one of the reasons. Also, things are changing in my life, and a security blanket is really necessary.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that you brought up money blocks because so many of us struggle with that at some point, and it's money blocks. It's when we think about abundance, it is money, but it's also love and relationships and connection. But money is such a powerful part of our life. I think it'd be really fun to explore money blocks a little bit more if you're okay with that, just because money affects every one of us. I mean, as a human, we have to have money. And look at the state of our country, other countries, there are clearly millions of people that have some sort of money blocks, whether it's, your example for, thank you for sharing of you get the money and then you spend it. Or, there's always a lot of worthiness issues. And I'll tell you, when I've had lots of money blocks, and you and I, as coaches and in the holistic healing field, we understand where money blocks come from. And a lot of people don't. You mentioned about your upbringing, which is huge. And I think it's accurate to say a lot of people may not even realize that they have money blocks or that they can do something about it. Speaking from my own experience, I was raised to believe, because I was raised in a rather strict fundamental Christian home. And it's interesting because as an adult, I've talked to other people who were raised in a similar type of home, but believing in the same God, but with a different belief system. But in my household, what I was taught, and this was reiterated in multiple ways, conversations and just by expression and just being immersed in my environment, is that because I remember asking my dad, how come other people have nicer houses than us? How come other people have nicer cars than us? How come people get to go on vacation, but not us? And, bless his heart, this was my dad's belief system that was so ingrained into me, was because that's what God chose for us.
Mm.
We were the chosen ones to suffer. We were the chosen ones to go without. And it really affected me in so many ways. It affected me in my ability to bring in money. It affected my self-worth, as being on I'll call it a very rapid path to getting rid of the crap inside of me. I use the acronym CRAP for chaos, restriction, anger, and poverty mindset. Clear out the crap. In doing so, I have acknowledged that a part of my healing process with my money and my self-worth is I've had a lot of anger at God.
Mm.
For a God to choose me and to choose my dad, what did we do to get the short end of this stick?
Oh, I think that's a reasonable feeling to have, especially as a child. And if that's the reason that God just decided you're going to be poor, it was hard to take, hard to deal with. And the why wasn't there. There was no why.
Yeah.
And okay, we talked about this last week. I analyze, I always have to know the why. And you ask questions,
Mhm,
why, God, is it
mhm,
us?
mhm.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
And there was no rhyme or reason to it. There was also this thread I remember that being poor was like being close to godliness. And there's all kinds of beliefs around that. Um, and it's not a secret that, I mean, I write about this in my book. When I was 10 years old, I was sent to live in a religious commune, and it was a very poverty stricken place to live,
Mm.
led by religious leaders that were close to God, communed with God, but we lived in poverty, and so that was just reinforced. That's just how it was.
Yeah. I mean, just totally solidified in your core belief system, cemented in
Hmm.
at a very young age, living in it 24/7 in a religious compound. There was no escaping that. There was no other reality other than that for you.
Right.
So it's going to take work to break up that, let's just call it a foundation that's faulty. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very well said. Yeah, the very strong foundation. And you're right, it has taken a lot of like, okay, foundation made of cement. I know before we got on the air, we talked about that. I love that analogy. And it's like taking a jackhammer, it's just chipping away, chipping away, chipping away, because there's so many layers and so much thickness that goes with it. And it's worth exploring, and it's worth purging all of that belief systems from somebody else. Um, and we get to take on our own belief system.
Yes.
And personally, and I know you're in the same boat as me, we were getting rid of that old stuff and we're
Mhm.
taking on our own belief systems. You have your ingraining from childhood of get it, spend it.
Mhm.
There's a lot of layers underneath that. And how beautiful that you recognize that. And that is such a key point, is recognizing what your belief is, or your habits, your way of doing things, you know.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest work. That's the biggest, they always like when we start a new job, all the hard work is up front, or
Mm,
with anything that we create, that's a thing. All the hard work is up front.
mm,
The hard work up front. And this, we're talking about, um, recreating negative money beliefs. The hard work up front is recognizing it and
mhm,
and and actually admitting
mhm,
that, yeah, I have an issue, and figuring out where it came from is digging.
Mhm.
digging in that cement. Okay, here we go. This is going to work really well. We are jackhammering. We are jackhammering that cement.
Yeah.
But you know what came up for me just now as you were talking about this? That there are some diamonds in that cement that we have
Mm.
learned along the way, because there are, let's just assume that the people and the communities that help cement in this belief system that we have had good intentions for
Mhm.
us
Oh, for
to,
sure.
to protect us.
Yeah.
And so there are little glimmers of light in that cement shimmering
Mhm.
from those diamonds.
Mm.
We get to keep those.
Yes.
Those
Yeah.
belong to us, and we can discard all the yucky, crap, which I
Right.
love, by the way. Please write out those acronym, right? The acronym, easy for me to say, underneath this video, if you would, because I
Sure.
think that's fantastic. Oh, and I will share, the check from the universe that I found online underneath this, video on
Perfect.
YouTube as well. Um, but yeah, I think that jackhammering of the crap and just picking out those few little lights, little shimmering lights of diamonds in there is really great. And then building with those diamonds, building, adding our own pretty rocks in there, whatever we want our foundation to look like, we
Mhm.
get to choose that.
Yes, we do. How empowering is that? Love it. We get to choose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. That is, I
Yeah.
just, that visual that you created was so good. And of course, I took it and ran because that's what I like to do. But
Huh.
yeah, so cool. Yeah, limiting money beliefs is a big deal. So we get to create, manifest, if you will,
Mhm.
a new way of thinking about that. And I've decided that this year is the year that that's going to happen for me. And it's a daily reminder, not only keeping track of all my finances in my planner that I write in every day, and I highly recommend it to my clients that we actually physically write in a book
Mhm.
daily to appointments that we have, yes, but also keeping track of things like that.
Mhm.
And stay tuned on that because I'm planning on publishing a specific planner with that in there.
Excellent.
But then also, waking up in the morning and being grateful.
Mhm.
Let's not forget that
Right.
magic in that. And then before we go to sleep, once again, reviewing the wonderful things that we created that day. And
Yes.
then the wonderful things that we're about to create because we are sleeping with that check under our pillow. Now, that may not be something that you want to do, but it's just an idea of how we can take something physical in our environment to remind us to be,
Mhm.
help us be accountable to the way that we want
Mhm.
to be. It's not about
Yeah.
doing. This is about being.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that. And that's a good reminder. We're so busy doing.
Mm.
And when we are in the state of being, that's when we get to allow. You beautifully shared earlier that, you set this intention, but you didn't know how, and you didn't fuss and worry and stress about the how. You just went with the flow. And that is so important with manifesting money or manifesting anything, just setting that intention, holding that vision, and just allowing the universe, God, source, whatever you want to call it, to bring it to you, and to have what I'm hearing you say is you just had faith that it was going to happen.
It's about faith.
Yeah.
Faith faith has been a big word this year. It keeps
Mm.
popping up for me. And I'm all about words the last couple of years, but kindness is a big word for me this year. Connection was a big
Hmm.
word for me in February, which you've mentioned before. But
Hmm.
faith keeps popping up. I actually went on a little shopping spree at Ross because it feels like I can do that at Ross. And
Uh-huh.
I found two t-shirts that I fell in love with, and they both had the word faith on it. I'm like, isn't that interesting that this keeps popping
Huh.
up for me? Interesting. Have faith.
Huh.
But
Love
yeah,
it. Love it. Yeah. Well, and I love how your word is faith and my word is trust, which I think it's the same thing. It's just a different word. So
yeah,
with
very close.
whatever resonates with that person, uh, you know, um, yeah, got to have that faith, got to have that trust, that letting go.
For sure. And something else happened for me this week, which really kind of goes along with this. And I was talking with another one of my coaches. I work with multiple coaches in my life because I believe in that. I believe in
Mm-hmm.
coaching. she asked me a specific question about a goal that I have, and how I am seeing that I'm going to get to this goal. And I was just going through my signature program, which is the Journey to Joy, and all the steps in that. I'm like, well, we have to start with clarity, because that's how I start my
Mhm.
work with my clients.
Right.
So I really need to get clear first. And she said, okay, Dawn. And then I was just really struggling with how I'm going to do that. Like the do. How am I going to
Mhm.
do that?
Mhm.
And she recognized that this woman is an empath, and she's a very strong empath. And she
Uh-huh.
just like saw me and felt where I was coming from, which was very heady, like
Uh-huh.
the doing part. And she said, Dawn, why don't you just stop for a minute and close your eyes, taking a deep breath. And she said, drop down out of your head into your heart. And if we do that, we just like close our eyes and visualize just dropping out of our head into our heart and answering from there.
Mhm.
That's a much better place and a lot less doing going on there. That is about being.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so I went from clarity to freedom.
Wow.
My heart wanted some freedom.
Yeah.
And that felt right. That felt good.
Mhm.
So I'm going to do a little getaway weekend and just go by myself and hang out. Maybe if I go to the ocean, I'll put my feet in the sand. If I go up north into the mountains, I'll just go into a vortex and meditate for a while. Just go be. I think we all need to do that.
Fantastic. Yeah, we all need to get away and just be, because what
Mhm.
we're not taught to be, we're taught to do, and shifting that is so beautiful. Well, I'm excited for you, whatever you choose to go and be. And yeah, your sounds fantastic. And I'm right there with you. It's really important to work with a coach. They say that the successful people have coaches. And I talked with a client, it was like last week, and she was feeling bad about having a coach. She thought there was something wrong with her. It's like, are you kidding? It's like successful people have coaches, like all these famous, like Tiger Woods, all these other people, everybody has coaches. If you want to succeed, we help you to see the blind spots. But I love that you have that support. Um, and that I'm here to always support you in any way that I can.
I do know that. And you're an amazing coach, Wendy, very intuitive. And you always speak from the heart. That's just who you are. You're just like this being of light. That's what I see in you.
Uh,
So just like kudos to this beautiful woman. And if you're listening on a podcast, you make sure you check out our YouTube channel so you can see this beautiful light coming off this woman.
Well, thank you. And back at you, my friend.
You.
Huh. You know, Something that I would like to talk about on this topic of manifestation, we talk about the positive side of manifestation. Sometimes it can feel like there's a negative side to manifestation. Um, I'll share with you briefly what I'm talking about in case I know that there are people out there listening that have had similar experiences. I was actually watching a little video about people who've had, I'll call it, they didn't get exactly the manifestation that they wanted, and how we can choose to respond to that. Because that's really important, how we choose to respond. And how we respond depends on where we are in life, what our foundation is. Again, that foundation. I'll share with you a couple manifestations that went wrong. These were not about money, but they're things that I really wanted. And, your analogy, your example of, manifesting money is amazing. And then for those of us that want something other than money, this is where our share went sideways. When I was a little girl, for a number of years, I didn't have a mom. And so I really wanted a mom. And we're taught, as an adult, they talk about the law of attraction and all that kind of stuff. You're supposed to visualize and really feel into it. Well, I was doing all that stuff as a kid without even realizing what I was doing. I had this fantasy about having this amazing mom that would just love me and adore me. And true story. I remember this very well. My dad and I would drive down, it's called Capitol Boulevard. I would be in the back seat of the car, and I invented this game. I was like, okay, Dad, if I see a pretty lady on the street, pull over, ask her into the car, and I'll pop up from the back and ask her if she wants to be my mom.
Oh.
And so that never happened. That would be like a really creepy thing to do. Thank goodness Dad did not follow through with my game idea. But when I was 7 years old, my dad did meet a woman, and they got married 3 months later. At first, before they got married, she was very nice to me. I'd actually been in a really bad bicycle accident where I cracked my head open. I was hospitalized, and she was really kind and loving to me. And then they got married. And long story short, they were married for 10 years. I mean, bless her heart. She is who she is. I've done a lot of forgiveness work. I bless her, wish her the
Mm.
best. But I say she was a monster. She was not this sweet, loving woman that I had envisioned as my mom. She was the polar opposite of what I had envisioned as a child. And that was devastating. And
Yeah.
it has taken me years, and be transparent. There's a lot of wounded ego there, like, why did this happen? Why did this happen to me? That's my little girl self saying that. Another example, as I mentioned earlier, are about being sent to live in a religious commune. Again, I was a little girl. I had this fantasy. I would dream the most vivid dreams. I felt it, which I now understand to be in my heart and my solar plexus, about living on a farm and having a horse. That was like my big dream. Well, when I'm 10 years old, my dad pulls me into the garage and it's like, hey, how would you like to go live on a farm where you can have a horse? Like, yes, yes. And, he had suitcases for me. And what I didn't realize is I was saying yes to a one-way ticket away from my family halfway across America. And I didn't know if I'd ever see my family again. And that's when I was sent to live in a religious commune. Yes, we were on a farm. And yes, eventually there was a horse. There wasn't at first, but eventually one of the members there got a horse, and yeah, we spent hours riding the horse, falling off, getting the wind knocked out. So I mean, that was really fun, but it was also a time frame that I came out very traumatized, and I had PTSD that haunted me for decades. And so I'm sitting here going, what the hell?
Mm.
And it put me in a state, to be totally honest, I was afraid to dream big.
Sure. With a
Be,
trauma like that, you associated the trauma, the pain with the dream.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, exactly right. The association of dreaming big equals trauma. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it has taken a lot of purging, a lot of that jackhammer, and clearing out all of that foundation that
Yeah.
was built so early. And as an adult, I can go back, when I do the healing, and I can see like you talked about, the gems that were in there,
Mm.
and get to build from there. Even with my stepmother, with the trauma that was around, being raised in that household, there were nuggets, there were gems. And I got to become the person I am today
You get to keep
because,
those. You get to
yes,
keep those
yes,
gems.
yes, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot to unpack with that story. That is frightening for a child when trauma gets attached to dreams, and I can understand how that would break a child's spirit for what can happen.
Mhm.
But there are a few things that I heard you say, if I may.
Mhm. Of course, please.
I heard you say that you wanted a mother And what was the intention behind having a mother? Was she going to rescue you?
Mm. In some ways, yes. She was going to love me, is what
Yes.
she was going to do. She was going to love me because I did not have a mother's love. I had my grandma. Thank God I had my grandma. I used to call grandma my mom, and my dad would correct me, say, no, she's not your mom. She's your grandma. I wanted the love of a mother.
Yeah, of course you did. And you deserve that. You do deserve that. Every child does deserve the love of a mother. Unfortunately, some of us don't get that true love because not every woman is a perfect mother.
Mhm.
There's a lot of women out there that are extremely insecure
Yeah,
and threatened even by their own daughters and
that
children.
is true. Yeah.
And so I guess, kind of the scenario that I'm looking at here is when there's a rescuer, there's got to be a perpetrator and a victim.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that is a dangerous position to be in
Yeah.
because you are one of the three in that
Right.
triangle.
Yep.
And sometimes you're two of the three.
Yep. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. And so to get completely out of that triangle is really the goal,
Yes.
to step out of
Mhm.
that triangle where there is no hero,
Yeah.
heroine, there is no victim, and there is no bad guy.
Right.
To step out and realize that we have control and nobody else does
Hmm.
of what is in our self.
Right.
And as a child, it's hard to explain that to you. And unfortunately, we walk away from childhood with trauma. Most of us have pretty severe
Hmm.
trauma from our childhood because
Hmm.
we're not adults. There's nobody there. There was no, life coaches in my life. Was there
Right.
in yours? There
No,
just
just,
wasn't.
just,
There just wasn't.
yeah.
But you did get what you asked for. You got
Yeah.
a mother,
Hmm.
and you did get the farm with a horse.
Hmm.
It wasn't what you wanted. So I know that one of my coaches says, okay, so just let's put it out there what you want, write it down, and make sure you say this or something better.
Yeah. Right.
And isn't that just like a simple yet exponentially great thing to do?
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. And I love what you brought up about the triangle. I actually went to therapy for a while, and my therapist brought up that triangle, and she called it the drama triangle. And she
Mm.
said exactly what you said. Somebody had to get out. And I did. I got out of that relationship. Because yes, that's really important to stop being the victim and the rescuer and everything else. And it that applies to so many areas of our life. And yeah, you're right. I did get what I asked for, and I love what you said, that or something better. And of course, as children, like you say, we don't know that.
No.
Where I am in life now, I do, going back to those gems, I love that expression, because of how I was raised by that mother, I became a significantly better mother.
Oh, you are such a great mom. I know this about you, and an even better grandmother.
Oh, thank you. And, I get to credit my experience because I got to do the opposite. I made a vow to be the opposite. And I get to, as an adult, go back and reframe those experiences. And because I also want to say, just because a part of my life's journey, my life's mission, perhaps on, we're going woo woo here for just a minute, okay?
Yay.
Perhaps, yeah, perhaps it was a part of my soul's mission to experience that so that I could understand the suffering of humanity and
Mm.
to be an example that, yes, you can go through what feels like freaking hell and come out the other side. Because, like
Yes,
you said, you get to get out of that triangle, leave it.
I'm very familiar with that triangle. I have lived in it
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah. Same
That's
here.
why I'm familiar
Mhm.
with it.
Mhm.
And it does no longer serve me. And maybe at one
Yeah.
time it did, that
Yeah.
playing the victim or playing the rescuer.
Mhm.
I'm still trying not to do that.
Uh-huh.
but I do not ever want to be the victim. And I certainly don't want to be the perpetrator. I
Right.
don't want to be that. But it's a vicious triangle. It's not a
Yeah.
circle, it's a
Right.
triangle and a vicious one. So
Right.
recognizing where you are, take a
Mhm.
look at we all should do this if we're having a struggle. Let's look at it in that format and say, am I in the triangle? Is there a perpetrator, a victim, and a rescuer? And am I one or both?
Right.
You know, and realize that that is not a healthy place to be.
Right.
Um, yeah, there is so many great ways to be instead, and manifesting. Future pulling is one of my
Mhm.
favorite ways to manifest. I think we've touched on that before, but just like putting the check from the universe under my pillow, we can do this by feeling into that energy of how exciting it is to have a
Mhm.
check,
Uh-huh.
for hundreds of thousands of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars under our pillow. If it, like it's a real check, like what does that feel like?
Uh-huh.
Like, oh, it feels like security to me, which is a big deal for
Mm.
me. It feels like
Mhm.
security. It feels like a bit more safety
Yeah.
because let's just be real. When we've got abundance, can put ourselves in a safer position in our life.
Mhm.
And we can do this just by, like, for example, Wendy. Oh my gosh, I am so excited for the second book that you put out, your sequel to your book. It has been on the bestseller list for how long now? Has it been like 6 months?
It's been actually 8 months, and I
Eight
tell you,
months now.
yes, yes, and I
Congratulations.
thank you.
And your TED Talk, loved it. Loved what you did there. So this is an example of a future pull. Like
Right.
these are goals that we want to accomplish, and we share goals with our friends. And
Mhm.
then we just send an email either to ourselves or to our friend, send a text, make a phone call, have a conversation, and do future pulling. It's
Mhm.
a great way to feel into what that feels like to have that conversation.
Yeah.
How did that feel when I said that to you, Wendy? What are the emotions that came up?
Oh, total excitement, and, the very first thing that came to me is all the abundance that I can share with people, you know? You get a
Wow.
book on the bestseller list, that means you're having sales, so yeah, abundance, yeah, share the wealth.
And you're getting the message out there to help millions of people.
Yeah,
And I know that's how you are. I do know that about you. Yeah.
thank you.
So, yeah. So, those are some ways that we can adjust what is in our mind
Mhm.
and feel into it. And when we feel it, we put that energy out there. This is science, guys.
Yeah.
Energy work is science. We're all made up of energy.
Yeah.
My daddy was a science teacher. I really got into it. My first science project was um, about electrons and how they
Oh,
work.
wow. That's so cool.
He helped me with it. We made little stick men, and he
Uh,
taught me how to take a hot dog and use batteries and electrons to cook a hot dog.
oh my
So that
goodness.
was my science project in fifth grade.
Oh,
Yes.
that's so fun.
So I learned about that at a young age, and I realized how fascinating it is that everything is made up of electrons, protons, and neutrons, atoms,
Yeah.
energy, and that what energy can do, either good or bad in our
Yeah.
life, and we get to choose.
We do. We get to shift the energy.
Yes, we
Yeah.
do. So if I wake up feeling dread, remorse, guilt, sadness, all those things that are in the lower vibrating area in our life in the energy field, we are going to attract more of that. Like attracts like.
Mhm. Yeah,
Like attracts like.
absolutely. Yeah.
But if I get to wake up in the morning and I may wake up from a bad dream, let's say it's just we had a bad dream. It
Mhm.
happens, whether you deserve it or not. We can flip
Mhm.
switch that right away by being grateful, thinking
Yeah.
of, oh, look at this nice house that I get to sleep in. Look at this
Yeah.
comfortable bed that I have. Or look at this black and white cat that just decided that it wanted to be my best friend and sleep with me every night and wake me up at 4 a.m. That's okay. That's okay at 4 a.m. I have a lot to do, right? I need to get
Right.
up.
Yes, the goddess hour at 4 AM.
That's right. Yeah.
Uh,
So we can shift that energy and raise that vibration. And by doing things like sleeping with a check under your pillow, doing future pulling, having fun conversations with a friend
yeah.
about what you want to do, how you want to be, more
Yeah.
importantly, that will lift the vibration up and attract more of that into your
Mm.
life.
Mhm. Love it. Yeah. I want to just reiterate something that you said earlier that is really powerful. You talked about what that check meant to you. You
Mm.
know, that is so important, what that means to you.
Oh, yeah. It's more than just a piece of paper with a number on it. That's something I can
Well,
spend. Yeah.
yeah, it's more than the shopping. It's more than the paying off the bills. It's a deeper, it's that heart and that soul meaning what it is to you, which is the deeper the freedom, the security. And yeah, that just really hit me really strongly. And I just wanted to reiterate that. And yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
You're welcome. It also did, and this word just came up as, or this combination of words just came up as you were saying that. It also means something else to me.
Mm.
It means personal power.
Yes, especially for women
Hmm.
when so much of our money power has been given to men in one way or another.
Hmm.
That's throughout history, women's history, a lot of our upbringing, it was the man whoever made the most money had the power.
Well, yes, women were shamed if they went to work for a while because they had to be home with the children and have dinner on the table when their husband got home at night and keep the children quiet so that he could just sit there and watch TV. I'm
Right.
sorry. Does that sound bitter? That may sound bitter. I apologize.
Yeah, many can relate to that. So
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. It is empowering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that is something that it means to me is um realizing
Hmm.
my own personal power. It is a real thing. And unfortunately, I have to remind myself that it is in me. I have to
Hmm.
remind myself on a daily basis.
Hmm.
Yeah. Literally empowering myself.
Yeah. Yes, you are.
Yeah.
Yes, you are. You go, girl.
Oh, all of you girls out there, go.
Yes, empower yourself.
That's right.
Huh,
All right. Well, this has
love
been
it.
really, really good, Wendy. You're such an inspiration.
Mm.
You're such a bright light, and we're here to talk about these hard subjects, these uncomfortable subjects like money
Mhm.
blocks. Women with money is sometimes it's uncomfortable. Uh, we women feel uncomfortable talking about making money. It might be intimidating to other people,
Mhm.
maybe men, maybe other women. But it's just the way life is, and it's a way to show not only your success, but how you create abundance just by being
Yes.
true self and being centered in who you really truly are. And that's what we're getting at here. Just really getting centered and realizing that you have the power within you to create anything. You really do.
Yes, actually, absolutely. And excuse me, what came to me as you were saying that is, when you're stepping into your power and creating the abundance that you desire, it's actually an act of self-love.
Mm.
And self-love has been my word so far for this year. And yeah, what an act of self-love.
Every day.
Empowerment, everything. Yeah.
Every day we should practice that self-love, Wendy. Thank you for that
Yeah.
reminder. Thank you.
Yeah. Well,
Okay, well, this has been really good. I hope those of you out there watching on YouTube and those of you
mm,
listening on any of the podcast platforms out there have got some good, let's say, gems out
yes.
of this. Those gems that we were digging
Uh,
up. I hope you grabbed a few for yourself and recognize the gems that you have in your foundation as you're digging through and recreating um, really a solid base for your belief system and who you are, and
mhm.
hang on to those gems and build something really great and beautiful with
Yes.
it.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you, Dawn, so much for this conversation. It's always such a joy, such an honor to meet with you and to have these conversations. And yeah, just thank you. You back at you, you know, what you said about me, back at you, my friend. You know, you're such a beautiful being of light and love. And just thank you for being you. And thank you to Oreo for sharing his, her. Hopefully, you'll be able to find out, you know, Oreo's gender or not. Doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter.
Well, we can use multiple pronouns for
That's
this kitty
true.
cat. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Just
All right. Well, she or he is soundly sleeping in the chair next to me right now. So she's settled
nice,
down a bit. And
nice.
thank you all out there for listening, watching Lightweavings podcast, where we ask the question, what has dimmed your light? And are you ready to do something about it? We look forward to seeing you and talking to
Mhm.
you next week. Same place. Watch for us. Bye.
Sounds great. Thanks. Bye bye.